My friends, we are creatures of longing. We desire, we reach, we dream. It is not uncommon to wish for the affection of one particular soul, to believe that, should they walk beside us, our joy would be made complete. But before we set foot upon this path, we must first examine the nature of desire itself. Not all desires are wise, nor are all yearnings just. A flame can warm a home or burn it to the ground. The heart, left unchecked, may lead us not toward love, but toward selfish conquest. Therefore, the first lesson in manifestation is this. To will another into our lives is no small thing, yet the forces of thought and faith are powerful. It is not by empty wishing but by deep conviction that we shape our reality. However, there is a peril in believing that we may impose our will upon another without consequence. Love, if it is to be true, must be freely given. To desire a person's presence without their choice is to desire not love, but possession. Then, is the better way, instead of asking how to bring a person to you, ask how to become the person to whom they would be drawn. The great paradox of attraction is this: those who chase often drive away, while those who cultivate their own light need not chase at all. One who is patient, kind, confident, and steadfast in character does not plead for affection. Rather, affection finds them, like a traveler drawn to the warmth of a home. It is a grave mistake to believe that life's gifts are seized by force. The rose does not bloom because one commands it, but because it is given time, soil, and sun. So it is with the heart of another. You may indeed wish for this person, you may hope and pray that the paths of fate intertwine. But know this: some wishes are granted, and others are mercifully denied. Not all things are for us, and wisdom lies in surrendering to this truth. Seek not to mold the will of another, but to refine your own. Become such a soul that, should they come, they stay not by force, but by choice. And if the answer of destiny is silence, let not your spirit be troubled. For sometimes, a closed door is but a guiding hand, steering us toward a love greater than the one we first imagined. And its essence is neither good nor evil. It is the force that moves us, the whisper in our hearts that calls us toward something beyond ourselves. It is the longing that shapes the path of our lives, for what we yearn for often determines what we pursue, and what we pursue shapes who we become. However, desire must be examined with wisdom, for not all that is longed for is meant to be possessed. There is a great difference between a hunger that nourishes and one that consumes. When one desires a specific person, there is often a belief that their presence will complete something within, as though another human being is the missing piece to a puzzle. This is a dangerous assumption, for no one can serve as the foundation of another's wholeness. To seek someone as though they are the final answer to an unfinished life is to place upon them a burden too great to bear. Love may complement, but it should never complete. A soul that depends upon another for its fulfillment is like a vine that has forgotten how to root itself in the earth. The healthiest love is not born of necessity but of freedom, of two souls choosing each other not because they must, but because they wish to walk the same path. One must question whether the desire for a specific person arises from love or from attachment. Love, in its truest form, seeks the good of another, even at cost to oneself. It does not cling, nor does it seek to bend another's will to its own. Attachment, on the other hand, is possessive. It longs not for the good of the beloved, but for the fulfillment of its own needs. It says, I must have this person, or I cannot be happy, placing conditions upon joy and chaining it to an outcome. But joy that depends upon another's presence is no joy at all, it is merely a fleeting satisfaction, vulnerable to the winds of change. There is also the matter of whether the desire is aligned with wisdom. Feelings, though powerful, are not always wise guides. It is easy to be drawn to another for reasons that have little to do with compatibility or true connection. One may long for someone simply because they are elusive, because their presence is rare, or because they represent an ideal rather than a reality. The heart, left unchecked, will chase illusions, mistaking infatuation for destiny. But one does not build a home upon mist. What seems desirable in the mind may crumble when tested by time and truth. Equally important is the question of motive. Is the desire for this person born of admiration and respect, or is it rooted in loneliness and fear? The heart that desires out of emptiness will always hunger, no matter how much it is given. If one seeks another to escape solitude, to mend a wound, or to fill a void, then the desire is not truly for the person but for what they represent, a solution, a comfort, a shield against the silence of one's own thoughts. And such a foundation is weak, for no person can forever serve as another's escape. To place such an expectation upon them is to guarantee disappointment. True desire, the kind that stands the test of time, is neither desperate nor forceful. It does not demand, it does not grasp. It is patient, steady, and respectful of free will. It does not say, I must have you, but rather, I cherish you, and should our paths align, I will rejoice. This kind of desire understands that love is not about possession but about connection. It knows that forcing what is not freely given is a hollow victory. It trusts that what is meant to be will unfold in its own time. Before seeking to manifest a specific person, one must first examine the desire itself. Is it driven by love or by attachment? By selflessness or by need? By clarity or by illusion? If the longing is tainted with fear, with control, with the desperation to shape the future according to one's own will, then it is a desire in need of refinement. But if it is born of admiration, of deep care, and of the understanding that love must be freely chosen, then it is a desire worth holding. Desire is not merely about what we wish to receive, but about what we are willing to become. And when one seeks with wisdom, with patience, and with an open heart, one may find that the love they longed for was never something to be taken, but something to be given, nurtured, and, above all, freely shared. The mind is the foundation upon which reality is built. Every action, every pursuit, every transformation first begins as a thought. What a person consistently entertains in their mind, whether consciously or unconsciously, becomes the direction in which their life moves. It is not a matter of superstition or wishful thinking but an undeniable truth that thoughts shape perception, and perception, in turn, influences reality. To believe that one is unworthy of love is to walk through the world with the weight of that belief pressing down upon every word, every glance, and every interaction. Conversely, to carry the quiet confidence that love is already on its way alters not only one's own bearing but also the way others respond in return. The power of thought is subtle yet profound. It does not force, but it inevitably directs. Faith is the unseen force that sustains thought. It is not merely the ability to imagine an outcome but the unwavering conviction that it is possible, that it is unfolding even when no evidence yet exists. Faith is the difference between the person who looks at barren land and sees only emptiness and the one who envisions a flourishing garden long before the first seed is planted. It is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests, for without faith, even the most persistent thoughts dissolve into doubt, and doubt erodes even the strongest of desires. Those who waver in their belief will find themselves caught in a cycle of hope and despair, reaching for something yet pulling away in fear that it may never come. True faith does not hesitate, it moves forward with certainty, even in the absence of visible proof. Faith must not be mistaken for a tool of control. There are those who believe that if they think hard enough, wish long enough, or pray fervently enough, they may bend reality to their will. But faith does not command, it aligns. Just as a sailor does not control the wind but learns to adjust his sails, so too must one seeking to manifest love learn to work in harmony with forces greater than themselves. The attempt to impose one's will upon another, to force a connection where it is not freely given, is not faith but coercion disguised as belief. True faith does not demand that a specific person must appear, rather, it trusts that the right person, at the right time, will arrive. When properly understood, does not exist in isolation. It is not enough to sit in quiet meditation, hoping that love will find its way unbidden. Faith must be accompanied by action, for belief without movement is as fruitless as seeds never sown in the soil. A person who wishes to be loved yet remains unchanged in character does not truly believe in love's arrival, they merely hope for it while resisting the transformation it requires. One who has faith in their own worth does not wait idly for affection to be granted, they live in a manner that naturally invites it. They cultivate kindness, patience, and self-assurance, not as a performance to attract another, but because they understand that becoming the person they wish to be is part of the process of receiving the love they desire. 2. Must be disciplined. It is not enough to entertain pleasant daydreams or fleeting wishes. The mind, if left unchecked, is prone to contradiction. It may wish for love while simultaneously harboring fears of rejection, insecurities, and doubts that undermine the very thing it seeks. To manifest anything, one must guard against the subtle self-sabotage of negative thought. The one who constantly fears abandonment will unconsciously act in ways that push others away. The one who believes they are unworthy of love will, without realizing it, dismiss or reject the very affection they long for. Thought must be trained, not through rigid control, but through quiet consistency. Just as the body is strengthened through repeated practice, so too must the mind be disciplined to dwell in belief rather than doubt. There is great wisdom in recognizing that faith is not instant, nor is it always easy. It is simple to believe when things are going well, when signs appear, when circumstances seem favorable. But true faith is tested in silence, in waiting, in moments when there is no reassurance but the conviction that what is meant will come. The impatient mind will seek shortcuts, will grasp for immediate results, will grow restless when things do not unfold on its preferred timeline. But the mind that understands the nature of faith remains steady, knowing that timing is not always in human hands, that the unfolding of events is not random but purposeful. To manifest a specific person, one must first align their thoughts and faith with the highest understanding of love. It is not about obsession, nor about bending another's will, but about stepping into a state of certainty, of knowing that what is meant cannot be missed. It is about believing in love's arrival without the desperation of demand. It is about walking with confidence, with patience, with a heart open to both the expected and the unexpected. For love, when truly aligned with faith, is not something one must chase, it is something that, in its own time, will be drawn toward the one who is ready to receive it. Love, if it is to be true, must be freely given. No force, no plea, no power in the world can rightfully command the heart of another, for love that is compelled is not love at all but a mere imitation of it. The desire to manifest a specific person must therefore be examined under the light of free will, for if one's longing seeks to override the agency of another, it is not love that is being sought, but possession. The nature of love is such that it cannot be seized, only invited. It cannot be demanded, only welcomed. Any attempt to shape the affections of another against their own choosing is not an act of devotion but an act of control, and true love will not abide control. The human heart is a sovereign thing. It moves where it will, drawn not by coercion but by its own deep inclinations. A person may be guided, inspired, or even influenced by the presence of another, but they must always be left free to choose. If love is to flourish, it must do so in an atmosphere of freedom. A flower forced open before its time will wither, a song compelled from unwilling lips will not carry the beauty of one sung in joy. Likewise, a heart that is pressed, persuaded, or manipulated into love will never offer love in its fullest form. There are those who believe that love may be secured through persistence, that if one only waits long enough, hopes hard enough, or demonstrates their devotion tirelessly, the object of their affection will be swayed. But love is not something to be won like a prize, nor should another's heart be treated as a fortress to be conquered. The deepest love is not born of relentless pursuit but of mutual recognition, two souls who, of their own accord, find within each other a kindred spirit. Any love that must be forced, any affection that is granted out of guilt, exhaustion, or obligation, is not a love that will last. The illusion of control is one of the greatest pitfalls in human relationships. Many believe that if they say the right words, perform the right actions, or think the right thoughts, they can shape another's feelings to their liking. But love does not function as a formula. No equation, no strategy, no technique will ever override the will of another. One may influence, inspire, and even deeply affect the heart of another, but in the end, the choice remains theirs alone. Any attempt to manipulate this choice, even under the guise of love, is a violation of what makes love meaningful in the first place. One of the most difficult lessons in love is the acceptance that not all desires are meant to be fulfilled. A person may believe with all their heart that another is meant for them, that their happiness depends upon the affection of one particular soul. Yet if that soul does not choose to return the love, no force in the world should seek to make it otherwise. The human heart is not a possession to be claimed, it is a gift that must be given freely or not at all. To wish for love is natural, but to insist that it must come from a single person is to narrow one's vision and resist the greater wisdom at work in the unfolding of life. When a person seeks to manifest another, they must do so with the highest respect for free will. They must not wish to change another's feelings, but rather to become the kind of person who is naturally and freely loved in return. The question is not, how can I make them love me, but rather, am I the kind of person they would choose? The answer to this question is not found in external effort alone, but in the quiet refinement of character and the steady cultivation of one's own soul. Love is not something to be demanded from another, it is something to be drawn toward the one who has become worthy of it. Patience is the great test of love. It is the willingness to wait without force, to love without demand, to cherish without expectation. It is the understanding that if a person is meant to love in return, they will do so of their own choosing, in their own time, for their own reasons. And if they do not, it is not a failure, but a sign that the path lies elsewhere. Love is not merely something to be received, but something to be embodied. Many who seek love look outward, searching for a person to complete them, failing to realize that love begins within. One cannot manifest a love they are not prepared to sustain. A heart that is filled with insecurity, fear, or doubt will struggle to hold on to love even if it arrives. The first task in manifesting a specific person, or any love at all, is to align oneself with love, not as a distant goal, but as a present state of being. The love one seeks must first be reflected in their own character, thoughts, and way of life. To align oneself with love means to cultivate qualities that naturally invite it. Love flourishes where there is kindness, patience, and understanding. A person who is quick to anger, prone to jealousy, or weighed down by unresolved pain will find love slipping through their fingers, not because they are unworthy of it, but because they have not yet become a vessel capable of holding it. The work of alignment is not about forcing love to appear, but about becoming the kind of person with whom love naturally grows. A heart that is open, a mind that is at peace, and a spirit that is free from bitterness will always be more attractive than desperate striving. There is a mistaken belief that love is something that happens to a person, as if it were a stroke of fate beyond their control. But love is not found, it is created. Relationships are not the result of chance alone, but of conscious effort and intentional being. A person who believes themselves to be unlovable, who speaks harshly of themselves in the quiet of their mind, or who doubts their own worthiness will find these thoughts reflected in their interactions. People are drawn to those who carry the quiet assurance of their own value. To align with love is to know, deep within, that love is not something to be earned through desperate effort, but something to be shared from an already full heart. Self-awareness is essential in this process. Many who desire love fail to recognize the barriers they have built against it. Some fear vulnerability, keeping others at a distance even while longing for closeness. Others hold on to past wounds, carrying resentment or mistrust that taints new connections before they have even begun. Some place love upon a pedestal, seeing it as the solution to all their struggles, only to be disappointed when it does not provide the fulfillment they imagined. To align with love, one must first examine themselves with honesty. What fears, beliefs, or habits might be standing in the way? What needs to be healed, released, or transformed? Love does not come to those who chase it, it comes to those who are ready to receive it with an open heart. The energy one carries affects the love they attract. A person who approaches love with desperation, as if it is a scarce resource that must be seized before it vanishes, will find themselves repelling the very thing they seek. Love is drawn to ease, to confidence, to the quiet assurance that what is meant will come. To align with love is to trust, not in a passive, resigned manner, but in the certainty that love is a natural state, not a rare gift granted to only a few. Those who act from this trust move differently. They do not beg for affection, nor do they cling to those who are unwilling. They understand that love, when true, will never need to be forced. One must also consider how they give love. Many focus solely on what they wish to receive, never realizing that love is not a one-sided exchange. A person who desires love must first ask, do I love well? Do I express appreciation, kindness, and patience, not only toward those I seek to attract, but toward all whom I encounter? Love is not something reserved for a single person, it is a way of being. Those who embody love in their daily lives, who treat friends, strangers, and even themselves with care and understanding, will naturally find themselves surrounded by love in return. The energy they give is the energy they will receive. To align with love is also to let go of resistance. Some hold so tightly to the idea of one specific person that they close themselves off to greater possibilities. Love does not always arrive in the form one expects. Sometimes, what the heart desires is not what is truly best. A person who is aligned with love trusts that if a certain connection does not come to fruition, it is not a loss, but a redirection. They do not chase or demand, they allow. They know that love, when real, is never something that must be grasped with force. It is something that unfolds naturally in its own time. Patience is a sign of true alignment. A person who is at peace in their own soul does not rush love, nor do they grow bitter in its absence. They understand that love is not a prize to be won, but a reflection of their own state of being. To align with love is to carry it within oneself first, knowing that the love one seeks is already present in the way they live, the way they think, and the way they treat others. When one truly aligns with love, they no longer need to chase it. They become it, and in doing so, they find that love has been moving toward them all along.